What's going on, guys? It's GBP baby. Welcome to another daily review. Hope everybody's doing well, and let's get straight into things. So I'm going to start on the weekly again, on dollar, and you'll see that we didn't manage to fill in the fair value gap that I drew out our attention to in yesterday's video. Now, one thing to take note of is the fact that we did trade to the midpoint of this fair value gap. So we traded up to the consequent encroachment, and to see price turn around at consequent encroachment is nothing new. So I do believe that price is going to continue lower moving into Wednesday, potentially Thursday, but overall I do think it's going to be quite a middle ranged week, as in like we'll probably consolidate within this range. So we did move lower, we're moving off this level, and another thing I want to bring our attention to is the midpoint of this order block. Now, I did bring our attention to it on the Sunday review, in the weekly review, but the reason I'm bringing it out again is because as price is moving lower, this is the lowest I anticipate price to trade to. So I need to make sure that is delineated clearly on my screen. So let's just get that drawn out. I'm just going to get that midpoint. And that's because that is the mean threshold of this bearish order block. And the fact that we traded through the bullish order block, the fact that we traded through the bearish order block means that it should now provide support on the bullish side. And that means that if it's going to provide support, it should therefore respect the 50% level. So that's the reason I'm going to make sure this level is delineated clearly. And then we can drop down to the daily and have a closer look at price action. So what you'll find is you'll see again, we traded up into that 50% level, running out stops here, buy side liquidity from here, and these relative equal highs. So you can see prices are slightly retracing now. We are closing very soon, but you can see we're working our way down towards this little fair value gap between this low and this high. So there's a nice little daily fair value gap that price is likely going to want to trade into. So that's probably going to be my target moving into Wednesday. And again, that's also Monday's low, which is an advantage as well. And then obviously you can see that red level delineated here, which also lines up with 50% level of this bullish order block's wick. So now let's go down to the 4 hour just to get a better look. Again, 4 hour is not the best of clarity right now, but again, you can see we traded into this high, failed to take out this high, and then price has been falling since. So we do have a little mitigation here, high, low, lower high. So one thing to take note of is we should probably be watching this level right here. And I'll talk more about that once we drop down to a lower time frame. Until then, let's go down to the 1 hour, and I am going to delineate the days of the week just so that we have a clearer understanding of where price wants to draw to and where liquidity is residing. So the first thing I want to bring our attention to is going to be Monday's low, and price seeks daily highs and lows, and you'll see we failed to take out Monday's highs. Euro didn't fail to take out Monday's high, and I'll talk more about that once I get to that pair. But you can see that we failed to take out that high in this case, meaning that we should be targeting now and looking for Monday's low to get taken. So I'm going to get that delineated in red, and then you can see there's a volume imbalance right here, a real liquidity void. So price is going to be getting attracted to that, and then obviously this blue level is that daily fair value gap I was talking about. Now, one thing I did want to bring our attention to is this last up close candle right here, and that's because this should act as a breaker. We have a low, we have a high, we have a lower low, and then price is broken to the upside. So when price does manage to get down to these levels around here, as in the fair value gap, we can look at this last up close candle as a potential draw where price would like to turn around. So I'm going to drag that right into the Wednesday. I'm going to make this, we'll make it a pink color, and I'm going to call this hourly breaker or 1 hour breaker. And like I said, that's because once price reaches that, I anticipate this to provide bullish propulsion for price to trade higher. Other than that, I have my eyes set on Monday's lows to get targeted, and this swing low right here for sell side liquidity. So, and yeah, this level that I just marked out from the 4 hour, this mitigation level, price may want to return back into that, as this is going to act like a breaker level. And the reason for that is we've got a high, we've got a low, we've got a lower high, and we're moving lower. So the swing in between these two highs, price will return to that, and then it should continue to act bearishly on price. Now, as you can see, we've traded into it once already today, and then we've just been consolidating quite heavily. But it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if price was to return to it one more time, maybe during London tomorrow, and then turn price around at that point again for us to run for this sell side liquidity here, that liquidity, the liquidity void here, and again touching down into that breaker. So yeah, that's pretty much my idea and of what to expect moving into the next day as we move into Wednesday. I am going to get rid of this just because I don't want too many blocks on my screen. And like I said, I do anticipate price to reach into this breaker. Another thing we should take note of is ranges as well. For example, if we look at Monday's range, so Monday's low to Monday's high, you'll see how price is treating these levels. For example, look at this 50% level. You can see that's where this low was formed, and you can see how we're trading away from that. So price is going to be referring to these levels as it's trading down and making its way to the bottom, and we should keep an eye on that as we're in the charts. So now that's everything on dollar. Let's now go to GBP, and you'll see that GBP has been showing a lot of strength recently. So here's the weekly for GBP. You can see we traded down into this rejection block right here. Why is this a rejection block? Because price traded into it, and obviously it's caused a reaction, and you can see how strong GBP is being. Now it's likely going to trade back into this range, and when I say this range, I'm talking about this range up here. We're likely going to see a push up into that. So let's go up to the daily, down to the daily, sorry, and see what PD arrays we can find. Now what you'll see is some silly price action. You can see how price apparently closed here and then opened here. If that is the case, because I know, you know, the data, forex.com, it can skew the data kind of. If that's the case, that means that there's a fair value gap residing between here. Now, because of how messy this is in general, I don't want to really analyze on this time frame. So let's go down to the 4 hour and see what we can identify. So similarly to dollar, we have a breaker, high, low, high, high, and then price is broken to the downside, running into this rejection block and this bullish order block. And then I am going to be watching this last down close candle as a draw for GBP. So the same way I'm expecting dollar to trade up into down into its breaker, I'd be now anticipating pound to trade up into its breaker right here. We can draw out a line for buy side liquidity, as we know that it's going to be sitting above that swing high right here. There's also a fair value gap there for it to fill. I doubt price is going to want to reach up into this range, and a reason for that as well is because there is actually a rejection block. So not a rejection block, sorry, there is actually an inversion fair value gap, because we delivered on the upside and the downside. This whole range should now be acting bearishly. So if price does ever reach into this level, we should see bearish behavior away from it. Preferably it won't reach it at all. I prefer that we just take out this buy side liquidity and then start to again move lower and consolidate its way lower and start running towards these lows. But other than that, I do just want to see price reach into this buy side liquidity and then, you know, bounce off of that level. So nothing too crazy. We're gonna finish on euro now, and now euro's where I made a trade, and you will see, I'll link that video in this video for you guys to go check out. I did get in on a nice trade during the start of the New York session. Now euro was showing a lot more weakness, which is why I traded euro. But you can see again, euro hasn't even taken out its lows yet. So we have lows here for price to eventually draw to. Again, it can still get there at the end of the week. I do think what we're seeing now is kind of like a manipulation, moving higher. But anyway, let's go down to the daily. And you can see how price is pushing up towards this bearish order block. Now this is a daily bearish order block. So what does that mean? When price reaches and trades into that level, we expect a reaction away from it. So I'm going to get that drawn out, and I'm just going to write bearish, daily bearish order block. Ooh. Like so. And then obviously we have this fair value gap right here. So moving into Wednesday, I do expect us to take out Tuesday's high, try to fill this imbalance, see if we can trade into this. It can take out Monday's high as well. That's completely fine. If it does do that, then the highest I'd expect to trade will be 50% off this wick. So let's get that 50% drawn out as well. Like so. And now at least we have a limit as to where I'm anticipating price to, you know, find some resistance or possibly turn around completely. Let's go to the 4 hour just to get a better look. And you'll see again a breaker, high, low, higher high, and then we've broken to the downside. So what do we look at? The last down close candle. And what does that line up with? That midpoint of that daily wick I just showed you. So right here. So you can see how all these things are coming into play with each other in terms of my targeting. We have some nice buy stops residing above here, this swing high specifically. I like the look of that. So it'll be nice to see if price can make its way up there. Furthermore, we have a nice breaker here, low, high, lower low, and then I'm expecting price to trade higher. So if we treat this as a breaker, that means anytime price trades into this range, we should be looking for buys for it to push higher. But obviously we've still got the whole of the Asian session, and we can see how we start moving into London. It's very well we may come back down to this level as price likes to return to consolidation before running for this buy side liquidity. So I will be up at London session. If you guys join the Discord, I am active in there, so you can always drop a message if you're in the charts yourselves. We can discuss some things. But yeah, buy side liquidity is there, fair value gaps. There's that level I was talking about. Here's that breaker, the last down candle before that up move. And yeah, I'd like to see price trade up into that. The move I got in on today was from 7 o'clock. Was pretty much this move from here down to this low. It was done on the minute chart, and like I said, I'll link that in the description if you guys want to go check that out. Very insightful. But overall, I am expecting a run for these relative equal highs, and you can see they're relatively equal. This high, this high, this high. These are all relative equal highs, so price is going to want to draw into that. So tomorrow I'll be looking for some kind of setup for us to push up into that level and hopefully get a nice reaction off of that level. I was just out of this. Hopefully get a nice reaction off of this daily level we marked out. In terms of GBP, like I said, GBP was showing more strength, so it can very well trade up into this buy side liquidity. And like I said, we have that 4-hour breaker, don't we, that I want to see price touch. So that's going to be everything, guys. I hope you found this insightful. Don't forget to smash subscribe, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace.